Hello friends, welcome back to Microsoft Flight Simulator and part 2 of Boeing 727 full flight tutorial video. Last episode we completed the electrical power up and the aircraft is in a state where we can start discussing navigation and entering our waypoints to the INS. After aligning the INS, that will be the first step, and discussing how we are going to depart and what kind of navigation we are going to use. So this episode is pretty much going to be about that, and after this the aircraft should be ready for pushback and engine start. Without further ado, let's hop into the cockpit and let's get this episode started. Once again, welcome to the flight deck of 727-200. We are where we left at the video. Electrical power up completed. We have ran some pre-flight tests and we are ready to start discussing the navigation. First off, we will go to the CVINS and set it to align and change the selector to the position, and it's now expecting us to enter our current coordinates. So there are various ways of doing this. Most broadcasted or published way in the tutorials that I have seen on YouTube is to use the navgraph and use the taxi charts, parking stance and coordinates. We are at stand 64, so north 5552.0, west 425.7. So this is one way of doing it. But what if you don't have navgraph, and if you still want to align accurately to your current position, because the gates at an airport has different coordinates, right? So there is a tool for this. I haven't seen this told in any other video, and that tool is a free flight simulation add-on that's called Little Navmap. Little Navmap, once you install it, will scan your scenery and has the ability to show you the coordinates of the parking stats or your aircraft. So I'm gonna try to show it. I hope it's not too small on the screen for you to see, but if I transition and bring the little nav map window here, we are currently parked at Glasgow, stand 64. If I zoom in, you'll see it right here. That's our aircraft. And at this bottom corner right here, follow my cursor. When I hover over the aircraft, you start to see the coordinates. 5551 and 2541.7, 5551. I'm sorry, 51. Yeah, so that's a close estimation of your position. 55 degrees 51 minutes and 58 seconds, and north 25 minutes, 4 degrees 25 minutes 41 seconds. So compare this to, let me just get rid of so you know how to do it now. That's little navmap showing you the coordinate 55 51 58 4 25 41. So to compare this to our chart, let's bring up the navgraph window again. And let's take a look at that chart once more. If you take a look at this here, 5552.0 and 425.7. So little navmap was 5551. This is giving 5552. That's close enough. Actually 5551.5, because the seconds is the decimal point, so Just know that in little navmap the decimal point is your seconds, so don't get confused. And then 425, 41, 425, 7. So that's also really close. So you can use those coordinates to align your INS if you don't have Navigraph. So that's another way of doing this. But because we do, so let's just enter this. North 55, 52, 0. Insert. West 4, 2, 5, 7. Insert. This is gonna start the alignment process. Let me get rid of the chart. We could have used the EFB or the clipboard for the chart as well, but I'll come back to that. If you scroll the switch to the desired track status, it's gonna start displaying a number. This is an index number, so don't expect this to change in certain time, like minutes, seconds. But this is gonna start going down, and when you see 0.5, that means your INS is aligned. This is realistic alignment, so it's gonna take some time. If you don't wanna wait, you can click the ready light, and that's instant alignment, so know that too. So now the next step is to enter our waypoints. So to do that, and I still haven't tested, so take this with a pinch of salt, because if in the previous version, if you enter the waypoints before the alignment is complete, the aircraft was not following the entered coordinates. I'm not sure if it's fixed or not, but because I don't want to wait and just want to test it out so we can together see how it behaves, I'm going to start entering my waypoints. So to do that, we are going to need the Navigraph screen once more. I wish there was a way to bring the EFB here like you have in the 73777 from PMDG. That would make things a lot more easier to see things together. But we are gonna view our OFP. Let's hide this. And I already marked the waypoints that I'm gonna enter. So the reason behind this is, let's talk about this for a second and we'll come back to the coordinates. We are going to fly the Norbo 1 Hotel departure, okay, and the instructions are here. Climb straight ahead, intercept Glasgow VOR at radial 225, cross 12 DME Glasgow at or above 5000, max 6 to 14 DME Glasgow VOR at 6000. Turn left and intercept Turnberry, that's another VOR, which is here 117.5, inbound to Norbo. So which means from departure to here we can fly using conventional navigation, and that's exactly our departure. After Norbo, that's en route waypoints, and we can start entering our waypoints. I thought about starting with Rolla, but it looks like it's a direct line, so our first waypoint is Osmek for that reason, and then from there on it's the waypoints on the way, Ripno, DCS, so on and so forth. So that's how I planned my route and selected my GPS waypoints, and we are gonna discuss about how to fly this conventional departure when we are discussing the takeoff. That's gonna be probably the next or episode or the one after. Anyway, let's go back to the OFP and let's start plugging in our waypoints. First one, Osmek 5508.4, 406.0. So we'll scroll the knob to waypoint position and make sure you change this from 0 to 1, because 0 is always your current position. You don't want to change this. So 1, North 5508.4, and I'm pretty sure you have seen this on other videos. Insert and then west 4060. That's first waypoint in. Scroll it to second waypoint 5456.5. insert, and west 344.3. That's entered. Waypoint 3, 54.43.3. Insert 320.4. Insert. Waypoint 4 is going to be Subuk for 54.22.8. And if you make a mistake, you can always hit clear and start over. 54.22.8 and 317.2. Number 5, 5304.6. And 253.0. Waypoint 6, 52.53.7. Insert and west 253.9. Seventh waypoint 52.42.7. Insert and 256.5. Waypoint number 8 52.37.1. And 256.9. Waypoint 9, that's our final for now, 5207.6. And 259.4. And you'll have to press north, west, east, or south when entering waypoints before entering the numbers every time. So that's our 9 waypoints. Once we are traveling from waypoint 3 to 4 or 4 to 5, that first 3 becomes vacant, and we can keep entering the other 3 we have once we are up in the air cruising or climbing wherever we might be at that point. So this is not like you have 9 points and you are limited to 9. You can have as many waypoints as you want. You can only pre-program on the ground 9 waypoints, and you are allowed to change them when you are in the air and when you are done with those waypoints. In other words, when you cross waypoint 3, you will be traveling to waypoint 4. You can reprogram first 3, or if you are traveling from 4 to 5, you can pre-program or reprogram rather the first 4. So that's how it works. So that's our waypoints in. Let's check the status of our alignment. We still have some time, and we can use that time to complete our other things. We know, according to the departure instructions, we are not to cross 6,000, so that's going to be our stop altitude for departure. We'll set that up. We'll tune our radios, and I'm gonna use the clipboard for that. Charts, fat fingers, departure, oops, that is the wrong airport. We are not, yeah, that's the wrong airport. We are at Glasgow, not Edinburgh. Sorry about that. That's our departure. Let's make it full screen. And here we are. We need this VOR because according to the instructions we read earlier, it says climb straight ahead, intercept Glasgow on radial 225. This is 225. And we'll fly 225 to 12 DME, crossing at 5,000. That's the altitude restriction, so we need to climb above 5,000 or we need to be between 5 and 6,000 at 12 DME of Glasgow VOR, and continue to climb to 6,000 at 14 DME. Make a left turn to intercept Turnberry VOR 117.5, and the course would be 184. So that's the departure. Take off, and if I zoom in just a tiny bit, you'll see that there is a slight right move here. So we'll make a slight right turn and shift to intercept 225 after departure. We'll tune Glasgow VOR to nav1 active and Turnberry to nav2 active, and as well as nav1 standby, just to have them ready. Okay, so let's do that. First thing, Glasgow VOR 115.4. That's tuned. 117.5, that's Turnberry VOR. And we'll do the same thing here. One 7.5, so that it's ready to tune. And as a backup, I'll just put 115.4 here as well, just to be able to track the DME once I switch to Turnberry VOR, if I have to. So that's the radios tuned. Our stop altitude is selected. We can select the heading mode and turn on the flight director to pre-select a 7.5 degree climb. That's after takeoff for our initial climb to cruise. So our takeoff pitch will be 17 degrees. Those are the values that I get from the included charts in the manual. We'll pitch up to 17.5 degrees, and then we will lower the nose down to 12.5 degrees to clean the flaps. And once we are at clean flap speed, we are going to command a 7.5 degree pitch for the rest of the climb and set our EPR accordingly. We haven't started the loading, and I want to show that this is also integrated with GSX, so let's start that too while we are completing other things to get ready for departure. We'll request the boarding.
Boarding requested. Do you want to board crew?
No, I don't want to board the crew. You keep asking this. This is a freighter GSX, not a passenger plane. So you are telling me passenger bus is coming. There shouldn't be a passenger bus. But anyway, I don't know what to say about this. So it's probably going to ask us to open the doors. Well, they are open. So GSX can, looks like, control those. Oops. And I forgot to turn these on when I started this recording again. So let's do that here. Alright, they started loading the aircraft. So if I go and press the play button, GSX will load around exactly the same time on the counter and be done with loading. So they should have already started the loading. Looks like they are waiting for the baggage carts or cargo carts in this instance. But let's go back to the cockpit and focus on what we were doing. So our radios are tuned. We haven't set the QNH yet. We need to receive the METAR information for that. You can do this in a couple ways. Well, Microsoft Flight Simulator has built-in METAR. You can do this and select Glasgow. And looks like QNH is 1013. That's one way of doing it. The other way is pulling up the clipboard, go to the takeoff, and if you click to import the weather, that's gonna give the QNH as inches mercury 29901. And we can just set our altimeter accordingly. Just to confirm, I'm gonna press the magic B key, and it looks like that's the current QNH at our departure airport. We will use the white bug to set that to our current altitude or airport elevation. The reason I am doing this is once we have a full rotation and a half, like around 1500 feet above ground level, after takeoff, we are going to reduce the EPR to around 1.7. That is for UK noise reduction requirements. You don't have to do this. This is just simulating the flight as real as possible. If not, that's gonna also tell us that when we reach 3000 above ground, we will come back on the throttles and set our climb thrust for the rest of the climb. So that's another reason. So that's why I'm capturing my current altitude, just to make sure, or have an additional aid to get to our additional aid to know when I reach 3000, 1500 above ground level for the throttle management. Next up, we will set the speed box. If you move the last one, you can move them all at once. If we look at the performance, we are gonna depart from runway 23. We already imported the weather. The aircraft is being loaded, so I'm not sure if this is dynamic. But our takeoff speeds, yeah, this is dynamic. They are gonna change as we load the aircraft. So we will come back to the speeds, but it's gonna be around 230 knots. So I'm gonna keep it there. Are we done? No, definitely not. We have discussed the course, so we will set the course to 225. That's what we need to intercept after departure. So we will roll it to 225. And that's our course set. And we will use the heading bug as a reminder for the second course, which is going to be 184 for the Turnberry VOR. So roughly around there should do. That's the course set. This is the Turnberry VOR. That's VOR2 or DME2. And then this is our current distance to Glasgow VOR. So all of that is set. While we are here, we'll just check all the lights are working. We already tested the ground proximity warning system. And for the EPR, this is fixed after the update. You can go and take a look at the included charts in the manual, or you can just let the performance calculation page set the EPR limits and the speed box if you want to. EPR and trim and EPR and speeds. We are not gonna set the speeds manually, but we can probably use this to set the EPR and the trim. This is gonna change, and I don't think it's updating dynamically, so I'm not sure if it's gonna change every time I come back to this. Looks like it. It's 88847. I go back, pull another page. So the cargo is being loaded. As you see, it's dynamic, and if I pull the performance page, these numbers are constantly changing because we are not loaded yet and we don't have the final load sheet available to us. So that is pretty much what we need to complete to prepare the aircraft for taxi. Everything else is done. Anti-skid stays off until pushback is completed, so we are not gonna touch that guarded switch yet. And at the engineer station, really not much to do. We have done OST part, and I can't remember if I completed the fuel part in the previous video, but we can always complete a fuel quantity test to make sure our fuel gauges are operating as expected. And we will set our crossfeed valves. So because center tank in this aircraft is bigger than the wing tanks, you might want to feed the engines from the center tank until it's empty and then start using the fuel, using the wing tanks. So we don't want the wing tanks pumping fuel into the center tank, so therefore we are gonna close the crossfeed valves first to make sure they are operating, check the lights to make sure they are still functional, and then just turn on the center tank crossfeed so that Left engine is fed from the left tank, right engine is fed from the right tank, and center tank can also feed the other engines with this valve. So we'll leave it like this. Fuel heat, it's showing around 18 degrees Celsius at the moment, but we can check that it's working. Wait until the lights extinguish, check the lights, and then close the fuel heat once more. Looks like it is working just fine. We have already completed this. We will come back to the engine vibration test. That's done after or prior to engine start, if I remember correctly. Maybe I'm misremembering that, but we will come back to this. Alright, what we are waiting right now, that's pretty much all the navigation stuff. We have our radios, INS is almost aligned, and we are waiting for cargo loading to be completed. And they are still loading the aircraft. Let's see how much time we got left. 3 minutes. Looks like that guy is done. These guys are almost done too, so that's pretty close. Integration with GSX, so it kind of aligns with the time they finish the loading. So that's good to see. We know it's not super accurate, but at least it's close enough, so we can live with this. So I'll wait until the loading is complete, and we are gonna discuss the final preparations to push back and start our engines and be on our way. See you in a little bit. Alright friends, we have finished loading the aircraft, and we can close our doors and do a final check before pushback and engine start. So let's go into the cockpit and complete our pre-flight preparations, or pushback preparations rather. Alright, we know cargo loading is completed, so we can close the main cargo door. We can go back to the EFB or clipboard. I keep saying EFB, but this is a clipboard, brother. And check the status of our doors. Forward entry is open, and you can also view the door status from the engineering panel. Forward entry and upper cargo are still open, and we will close those too very momentarily. We will turn one boost pump per tank, and we will turn the rest on after the engines are started, just to save some electrical power. That's also completed. Our packs are running. We will turn off the packs for engine start to supply the cabin with bleed air. I don't think I have done the pressurization panel in this episode because I started fresh from scratch, so let me do that because I know I have done this in the previous video. We are cruising at 29,000 feet, that's 3.2, and this is just a recap for those of you who haven't seen the first episode. What you need to do is set your cruising altitude, set your landing altitude, and then set your cruising altitude based on this placard over here, based on your cruise level. So if it was 30,000, that's 3.6, so that's 3,600. So that's also set. We'll do the wing anti-ice test and check the lights, and we are pretty much ready for pushback. So let's remove the cones and chocks and close the door, and that's everything we need to do to prepare the aircraft for pushback and engine start. Obviously we have to turn on the beacon and other things, but that's gonna come in the next episode. Let's recap what we have done so far, starting with the alignment of the INS. That should be also completed by now. Well, we have very little left, but what we have done is we have went into the taxi charts and parking stands and coordinates, and found the coordinate of our current parking stand and enter this into our position selector here. If you don't have this, remember you can always use little navmap that's going to be close enough for the INS to work if you don't have Navigraph. So that's a secondary option for you to find this information. Once we are done with that, we entered our waypoints from 1 to 9, and we are gonna wait for a couple waypoints to expire, if you will, to enter more once we are up in the air. We also discussed the departure and how we are going to fly our departure. Takeoff, slight right turn to capture 225 to Glasgow VOR 115.4, which we tuned to our F1 radio right there. And we will fly and climb to between 5 and 6,000 before air at 12 DME, and then continue to climb to 6,000 at 14 DME. At 14 DME, we are going to initiate a left turn to capture Turnberry VOR 117.5 at course 184. So that's the departure. And after that, we have completed the remaining of the tests. One thing left is, I can't remember if I did the max speed warning test. You can do this after start. And also the stall warning test, we haven't completed that just yet. Engineering station, we turned on one boost pump per tank, checked our fuel levels, and closed the crossfeed valves to wing tanks. We have checked our pressurization panel once more, checked the wing anti-ice lights, and double checked or cross checked our pressurization panel settings. Loaded the aircraft, we can close the cockpit door, and that's pretty much it. I hope you guys enjoyed this video. If you did, please consider giving it a like, and if you stumbled upon this video but not a channel subscriber, consider subscribing and turning on the notifications to get notified for future videos. Thanks for being here with me today, and I'll be seeing you in the next video.